I can drink water, right?
Okay, yes you can have beverages here. Welcome back to I Don't Disagree, the non-competitive sports rant show, whatever you want to call it. Again, we are live in Falmouth on Cape Cod, Mass. on my vacation week, and it's guest week. So we had the birthday boy on a minute ago. This is the elephant in the room. This is the one that people don't know. He's kind of like George Glass. People don't know I have an older brother, a lot of them. Well, here he is in the flesh. This is Mark, and you can tell by his jersey where his loyalties lie, which make me sick. But in fairness, he is a loyal Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins fan. So I probably cut him a little more slack than I cut Pete, who badmouths the Bruins all the time. Which I think he does that more to get back at his racist Franklin hockey friends, who stopped watching basketball the day Larry Bird retired, and don't think that the Miliaccios know it. We know. Okay, so anyway, this is Mark. Welcome to the show, buddy. I'm glad to see you. Miss you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Actually, it's been a while. What was it, Christmas?
And about,
Yeah, about 6 months, 7 months.
It's like you live in another state.
I do. It's like I live, It's the Seinfeld. I need the buffer zone.
There you go.
Actually, it's a two-way thing. So anyway, we are going to get into, as I told you, one of the most two or three most storied franchises in the history of this league, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben retired, first ballot Hall of Famer, had a hell of a career, tough as nails. The competitor in me is sorry to see him go, because when you're a competitor, you like to see competitors, and Ben's a throwback in a lot of ways. He was. And this guy would stand in the pocket, take beating after beating. Mark could probably write a book on it, and deliver time and time and time again. And to put 2 more Super Bowls up in that historic mantle is saying a lot. So I know he's going to the Hall of Fame first chance he gets, and he deserves it. But now Pittsburgh's at a crossroads, and they've got a great head coach who's never had a losing season. They're in a tougher. This division just got tougher. Cincinnati is for real. Baltimore is Baltimore. Them and Pittsburgh don't like each other, and with good reason. They're one of the best rivalries in all of the sport. I think Mark would agree with me on that. And so we're going to start with the quarterbacks. Now, Mitchell Trubisky came down from Buffalo. He was drafted very high when he came out, was a starter. Didn't fare too well in Chicago, but it's Chicago. So I don't know how much of a pass he gets or how much of that's really him. He went to Buffalo, played behind one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. And now he's down here with a shot. And on top of that, they drafted the best QB in the draft, this kid, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, who broke all of what Mark's telling me, broke all of Marino's records in college. That's saying quite a lot. If you don't know who Dan Marino is, you shouldn't talk about football. So we're going to start with the quarterbacks. First off, and again, preseason is starting this week, training camp, they're coming back. So would you be surprised if Trubisky is starting the season, or do you expect it? And if you do, what's a realistic expectation for him coming into this?
He's going to start the season because the offensive line was in tatters. That's why Ben didn't perform well. He's not mobile. If he was behind the Tampa Bay line or somebody else, he probably would put up good numbers in spite of it. But
he did.
All short passes, less than 10 yards, because he
didn't have time.
Football. Trubisky's mobile. He runs around. He made the Pro Bowl in Chicago. Went to the playoffs twice before it fell apart. You don't know what the line's going to be. They signed a couple of free agents. Jeff Daniels, starting guard from Detroit, and they signed Mason Cole, the center from Arizona. So they're trying to rebuild the line. If you remember how Roethlisberger started out with this guy Tommy Maddox in front of him, and they did that to protect him. I think they're going to do the same thing to the kid. I don't think Pickens starts. He's probably going to finish the season. But that depends on how the line plays. If Trubisky's running for his life, I think they'll sacrifice him because the kid Pickett's going to be the franchise. Sure. That's what they want him to be.
Okay. And this Pickett kid, did you actually see him play in college?
I watched the thing.
I actually saw him play twice. And
67% QB accuracy and over 42 touchdowns.
He's got a strong arm. He is mobile.
And he's accurate.
If this had to happen, this might actually work out pretty well, given the timing of it. Because last year was the run on quarterbacks, and we know what happened there. But this kid quietly had a very good year, and he fits the profile of what the Steelers need and want, and he's got looks like he has all the tools.
Well, if you look at how they started Ben out, you had Bettis there, you had a strong running game and took the pressure off him. You got Najee Harris behind him, who's arguably one of the top. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. You're gonna be a running team, plays defense. That's why I think the kid will get in there, because there's not going to be a whole lot of pressure on him. The difference between this year and last year is this kid can move around, as can Trubisky, so these receivers' numbers should go up this year, because Ben did okay. He's accurate, but nobody was fearing the long ball because he wasn't holding on the ball. So
he didn't have time. You said it yourself. What was impressive to me about Pittsburgh last year, not only did Ben not get killed, even though it looked like 3 or 4 times he did, and he died like Wes Welker type death, but he popped up just like Wes used to. But Najee Harris, who to me is a bull in a china shop, to me he could be Derrick Henry 2.0. That's how highly I think. Ran for 1,200 yards behind a very bad.
He ran for 1,200 yards, and you knew he was getting the ball.
You knew he was getting the ball.
So.
Yes. This Deontay Johnson now, who 1,000 yards, 1161, 107 catches, 8 touchdowns. The cupboard's not bare. I think he's the legit number one. What about this kid? Do you know about this just Chase Claypool? Was he the one that kept getting in all the trouble with his mouth? He's talented. He's kind of like a malcontent.
No, Juju was doing the TikToks on the logos. He's gone.
Juju's gone. It was Juju then. It wasn't this kid.
Yeah. No. Okay. Claypool's a little cocky. He says stuff, but he benefited, and he'll benefit from them throwing the ball out. Freeman, you want to watch out for, Pat, the tight end. He's going to be one of the top tight ends in the league over the next 2 years.
Freeman.
Tall, fast. Again.
Did they draft him?
No, he's been there for a few. He's been there. I think.
Is it Freeman or is it
Pat Freeman?
That is Freeman. Got him. Okay.
Yeah. Watch him.
So 7 touchdowns, that's solid, just under 500 yards, 60 catches, and part of that was Juju was obviously demanding a lot of the ball. So that kid, what year is he in?
He's coming into year 3, so he's going to be. I think he's going to be featured with Deontay. They had a good draft. They drafted George Pickens out of wide receiver out of Georgia. He's super fast because they knew they were letting Johnson go to the Cowboys. They weren't.
And where did they pick him?
Picked him in the 3rd round.
Yeah, he fell.
Second round.
No, second round.
Fell in the second round. Yeah, he's going to be good. He'll be on the field.
Yeah, he will be. I liked him. I thought he was very talented in college.
So if you look at what they're doing, when they've had 19 seasons without a losing season. They're going to be a running team that plays D and let the QB evolve, just like they did with Ben. If you look at those runs with Ben early on, you had a lot of talent, tight end orientated offense.
Did you say they drafted linemen or they signed linemen?
They signed linemen. They signed 2. They signed starters out of Detroit. Not a big deal because they were running for their life there. But they signed the center out of Arizona.
Okay. All right.
So they're trying to rebuild the line.
Did they draft linemen too?
They did. Mason Cole from. I'm not Mason Cole. I'm sorry. Trying to remember his name. They didn't draft a lineman until like the way down.
It was late, right? It was late.
Yeah. They went. They went some offense there early on.
They went. Actually, I have the board right here. They went. This was late.
They had a good draft. This was Colbert's last draft. I think it's pretty good.
They got Pickens. They got the quarterback first. They got the defensive end out of A&M, who's a stud, Leo.
DeMarvin Leal,
Yeah, the receiver out of Memphis, Austin, was pretty good too. And they got a linebacker. Actually, they didn't draft a lineman.
No, they went the free agent route. And I think, and I was watching Arizona last year, so the center, they needed a center.
Yeah, they could run.
He's good. So.
Yeah, Arizona could run. They were a good running team. Okay, so they got him. All right. So if it is Trubisky, which you think it's going to be?
Early on, yeah.
What is a realistic, is he just keeping the seat warm? For this kid until he's ready,
they told him it's 2 years. I think they're doing him a favor. If he looks good, he'll stay in. If they're in that 8 to 10 win range, like I think they'll be, he'll stay on if they're in playoff contention. If they slip down to that 7 win range, I think they'll hand the reins over.
They'll hand the reins over sooner rather than later.
And again, it's about the whole line. If someone's going to take a beating, they're going to
let it be the other guy.
Yeah, and you know what? It's an opportunity for him because he's mobile. If he
he's got a chance to resurrect his career.
He's got 2 great. Not great, but solid wide receivers. He's got a good time.
Well, Deontay Johnson looks like the real deal to me.
He is. He is. This is his last year probably in Pitt. Unless they throw the book at him, I don't think they will.
How old is he?
This is 4th year. So he's looking for free agency next year. They did not extend his contract. He was a little pissed, but I think he's going to go out there and play.
And they'd have the franchise tag if they couldn't sign him. Depending on what he does.
On a wideout, I don't know.
But if he has a 1,400-yard, 12-touchdown year.
Yeah, that's exactly why they drafted
Pickens.
Why they drafted Pickens out of Georgia. They already knew ahead of time. This is what they do. They're a wide receiver farm.
No, they've done it well.
Yeah, so
they've done it as well as anybody, I would argue, the past 15 years.
Yeah, so they know what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if it is Trubisky, it's trial and error. See how he does. If he does well, he stays. And if they're in contention, he stays. If they're falling by the wayside, then they bring the kid in sooner.
Yeah.
And let him get his reps and get it. And all right. Okay. All right, makes sense.
They did this with Roethlisberger, and he did not start. Actually, if you look at Kansas City,
he waited the whole year.
Waited a whole year. This whole throwing QBs in the very first year, I think a lot of good QBs have been getting ruined because they're not ready and they don't know the pro offense yet.
I agree with that.
Overall,
I think
off and do it.
Well, I think it's dependent on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because if the foundation
look
is
at the
there,
Jets. Look at how many good QBs they draft.
they destroyed.
They just get
destroyed.
They
and I feel bad. This Wilson kid might have has talent. I don't know what's going to happen to him. They had a very good draft. I don't know anything about this coach though.
Yeah.
Mac Jones fell into Belichick's lap. We know Belichick can coach. The kid down in Jacksonville there. That poor kid, Goldilocks, took a beating. Urban Meyer was gone at midseason. He's a fraud between you and me and the wall. But he's just a recruiter at best, and that was college. But so who knows what he'll do. But yeah, Tomlin's a great coach. So
they've got good coaching.
They've got the coaching to set this kid up.
They signed a lot of free agents in D, which I'm a D guy. Levi Wallace, starting cornerback from Buffalo. That's a stud defense.
Yeah, they're a top 5 defense.
They took Miles Jack from Jacksonville.
Yep, he's one of the few good players on that defense.
And then they just signed Larry. I can't even pronounce this guy's name. Ogunjubi from Cleveland.
Ogunjubi.
Yeah, that's
starting defensive
tackle.
How do you spell that?
Ogunjubi.
Ogunjubi.
I can't.
That's a hard name.
Yeah. So he's a star. So Cleveland had a pretty good defense. So they're building it up from the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Like they usually traditionally do. Run the ball, play D.
Okay.
Drown you out.
So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the division. Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl, and they damn near won it. And they've upgraded their offensive line, which was that kid almost got killed last year too.
He led the league in sacks, and he's already had a knee injury.
Yeah,
so
but he came off the injury, and this is what he did.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati got smart and said he won't last another year like this, and went out and got linemen, like legit linemen. They went out and got guys, starters, legit guys that can pass block and run block. So Cincinnati's not going anywhere. Baltimore to me is the wild card because. You don't know what's going to happen.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you don't know what he's going to do.
Lamar Jackson versus Pittsburgh. I don't think he's won a game. I don't think he's beaten them in his career. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's got a win.
Well, they seem to split every year.
They did not split last year.
Pittsburgh won both games?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so
did they?
Yeah, go ahead and look at the last record. He doesn't play well against Pitt. He doesn't read defenses.
Yeah.
And he doesn't throw outside.
He's a one-read quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't throw outside the numbers. So I could say split with them, but the defense I think is going to be better this year. Mm-hmm. They've also got Brian Flores running the defense.
Now you do know that at one point before the injuries hit, Baltimore was 8-3, and then they just got drilled by injuries.
Name a wideout in Baltimore that scares you.
I think that's part of this is the thing though. This is the problem. This is why I don't know how to judge him because he's never had a number one. So I don't know how accurate he is because he's never. To your point. He's never had a guy. He's never got that scares you. So
he's phenomenal, but you know what they're going to do.
We know what they're going to do.
They're going to run. They're going to run him.
But I have a saying that actually I got it from my father. Quarterbacks that run in their 20s are limping in their 30s, which history has bared that out. Dad was right about that. Baltimore's going to understand something. You keep playing this style of offense.
Yeah.
He's not going to last very long. He knows one hit away. Look at him, one hit away. And Tom Brady showed up. That was it. Okay, now I don't expect Tom Brady to be behind Lamar Jackson, but one hit can end his career if he gets hit the right way or the wrong way. So you can't keep playing that kind of style if you're going to, you know what I mean?
They're just so inconsistent. I mean, they could win 11 games or they could win 5. You
know what
the hell's going to show up with them.
All right, so they're the wild cards. I don't know what they're going to do. Cleveland, to me, you said this earlier before we went on the air, and I think you were right.
They're sacrificing.
They made a monumental mistake here. Not because the kid can't play. It's nothing to do with his playing, but this dude is if one of these girls was telling the truth, he's a piece of shit, okay? There's no way 45 women, there's no way 45 women are lying.
Well, let's take the low. Let's assume he gets 8 games, the season's over.
Oh, yeah.
Season's over.
I don't think he can do anything.
He's 8 games to a year.
They'd have to be 6-2.
I think they did this. I think they did this intentionally. They were counting on him to be there full-time for year 2. This gives them a good draft pick if they stink, which they will. Which means they can put a stud wideout or whatever they want around them, and that's
okay.
You got Miles Davis on the
they'd have a top 5 pick, presumably. Yeah. If what you're saying, if that's why you think this is happening.
Well, they had to have known when they signed him long term that odds are he was going to at least get.
He's already lawyered up with the league that they're already at the counter. The NFL hasn't even levied a decision yet, and they're talking about suing. Like, how can you even sue when you don't even know what the decision is?
Well, let's look at the history of suing the league. Let's start with your buddy Tom Brady. You can say not fair for that. He went all the way up to the court. He still had to do the 4 games,
which is bullshit.
So by the way, that's the flag football. This is women. How far is he going to push this?
That's the thing. If you can get 4 games for allegedly taking the air out of a football, which the ideal gas law just proves that bullshit. But anyway, let's ignore scientific fact for a minute. he got 4 games for that. This guy, how many women? What was the count? And he paid off 20 of them already. And then I heard that the Houston Texans, his former employer, paid off another 15, 20 women.
He's going to get at least 8. And again, it's just pressure from what's going on with the one. So he's going to, and again, the NFL's under pressure to make him an example. So dude, 8 games or a year. It's going to sit in there and maybe protest, but
if he protests, can he play while it's being protested, or is he? Because that's the thing I don't know.
I think. Let's look back to Brady. Was Brady able to play before serving the 4 games while that was?
Well, that went to court. He was.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
Maybe he gets on the field.
So by appealing this, which you know how long an appeal could take.
I think public opinion. If you look at, I don't think they want to put him on the field until this is behind him. Because again, it's a public relations nightmare. I'm thinking he's out for the first. I'm counting on him being out for the first 8, probably the year, which means they knew this. They probably know this, so they're sacrificing the year to get some draft picks, and they're going to want to come back in 2 years.
So you're willing to sacrifice. And you have 2 stud running backs.
You signed him for what? 6? How long? For $250 million?
It was 6 guaranteed $230. I think it was 6 or 7 years. Yeah. Gary, he gets all that money.
Gets it all. So they're playing long ball there, where they look like idiots. Who knows? But I think Cleveland. That's 2
wins. It is Cleveland.
You can chalk 2 wins up right there. Yeah. Just give it.
Okay. So it's really Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think Pitt will be the second best team because I think the Ravens, they're coming off injuries, they're coming off a lot of unknowns. The kid's good, but he doesn't have a wide receiver. And again,
he doesn't have a number 1 wide. You're right there. He doesn't have a number 1 wide.
Pitt's one of the top Ds, or they're going to be a top D this year.
They will, yeah.
When they draft.
And they got, to be fair, they got sandbagged by injuries too last year, late when they were trying to make a push. Yeah. And they damn near got. I think they got.
And you also got to remember.
No, they got in, didn't they?
They got in.
And they lost to Kansas City.
Yeah. But you got to remember, Brian Flores. If you look at Miami's defense over the last 3 years, they were the top 6 scoring defense.
They were very good.
Ago,
and he was a Patriot, and they won a Super Bowl with him.
Yeah.
So I know him.
He's their defensive coordinator for the.
Which is going to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is going to help them. So you're figuring. All right, if that's the case, you're figuring right now second best team in the division.
Yeah.
What do you think for a win total?
8 to 10 wins. There's a couple variables on the schedule, and you know that extra playoff spot, an 8-8 team could get in.
Yeah,
There's going to be a bunch of teams on the bubble. They were 9-7-1 last year.
Yeah.
And they got in. So let's just say 9 wins
to
win.
They open up at Cincy. That's probably a loss. But then they got New England home. They could beat the Patriots.
That's a flip of a coin. They're both kind of the same team.
They're both the same. I would agree with that.
Then you got Cincy and the Jets next.
They're going to beat both teams. Then they go to Buffalo. That'll be tough. Tampa Bay's coming in.
Tough.
At Miami.
I don't know what Miami is yet. They're in turmoil. They could be great. They could be in the middle. That's a flip. Philly's a solid team. That'll be good. New Orleans, I think that's.
They'll beat New Orleans at home. They're at home.
You got
Cincy at home. I think they can beat Cincy at home. At the Colts. What do you think of the Colts? They did get Matt Ryan.
I don't know what Matt Ryan's got.
They have that running back who almost won MVP.
It's their D. I don't know what Matt Ryan's got left. I always liked him. He always made good plays.
Well,
you know what it is? He's got it. He was good under Reich. I think they're going to be one of the teams that are going to compete for these playoff spots. So, but you got Atlanta after that. You got
Baltimore, stinks. So the Raiders are for real.
They are new head coach.
They're for real, but they added the best receiver.
And you go Baltimore, Cleveland again. So you're in that 8 to 10 range win. And if they pick somebody off or upset.
All right. So if we're talking 8 to 10, what is Mr. Tomlin, who is to me behind Bill Belichick? I think he's the second best coach in the conference. I put him up there with Andy Reid because Andy Reid didn't do a damn thing until Patrick Mahomes showed up, and they've only really done it once. So Mike Tomlin, though, to your point, has never had a losing season. There's something.
He won 8 games with Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, come hell or high water, his team is always competitive. If Andy Reid doesn't have a stud quarterback, Andy Reid's team is not competitive. So Belichick's teams are usually competitive regardless. So I put him behind Belichick in the conference as a coach. The kid from Buffalo, the head coach from Buffalo, we'll see what he does. Until he gets a ring, he's not in the conversation. Colin has a ring, Belichick has a ring.
After what that coach did in the Kansas City game, I don't know if he's a good coach. I don't know how you lose a game with the number 1 D with 13 seconds.
That's
on
there you go. You
Mr. Head Coach.
There you go. That's coaching. Yeah, and I don't know where he is because a good coach doesn't. I don't think Tomlin would pull that or lose that. I don't think Belichick.
I don't think any good coach would lose.
No, I don't.
I don't know how you go up with 13 seconds left and kick it. First of all, don't kick it out of bounds or kick it in the corner or kick it in the end zone.
Just kick it out of the end zone.
You don't you don't let Kelsey run down the middle open. That's a comedy of errors.
Yeah, it is. So no, I agree where he is. But he hasn't proven it yet. Until you get a ring, you're not in the conversation. To me, it's 3 guys. It's Belichick, it's Tomlin, and it's Reid.
And I'd say a weaker Pittsburgh.
Is there another coach in the conference that has a Super Bowl ring? Harbaugh has one, right?
Yeah.
He's got one.
He's a solid coach.
He's solid.
Again, I look at their offense. I look at how they match up with teams. Baltimore, he throws good over the middle. But he runs, and like you said, that's an injury waiting to happen. He got injured a little last year, and he's arguing about his contract right now.
Well, he doesn't have an agent. You know,
is he going to
negotiate his contract? His mother.
Well, is he going in as a malcontent? You don't know.
I don't know. What I do know is they've never got him a number one. The theory on this, or actually it's not a theory, it came from one of the Ravens' all-time great defensive players who played on that 2000, I think, Ravens Super Bowl team, that awesome defense. The safety of his name, but was it Ed Reed? No, it wasn't Ed Reed. But he said that number one, or great receivers don't want to go play with him because he's going to run first.
Of course he is. It's his biggest weapon.
Yeah, which I'm guessing by your tone you believe that.
I think Harbaugh is trying to win games, and if you look at how RG3 got his career ruined by a coach trying to stay in the league, they're abusing it, like you said.
But Harbaugh's a quarterback. This is my thing.
You're thinking of his brother.
Well,
he's trying to keep winning record going, and I think they're.
But if you played that position, you understand as a quarterback that longevity is about developing into a pocket passer. That way, you last longer. Runners don't last very long. He knows this.
So Lamar Jackson's 2-3 lifetime against the Steelers in his career, and the 2 wins he's got were the wins when he played against Mason Rudolph. He lost to Ben.
Oh, he didn't beat Ben.
Well, no, he lost to Ben last year. My point being, Ben wasn't even good. So I don't know what this kid can do. I mean, he's had the MVP season. He's kind of regressed every year. Defenses seem to have figured him out.
Well, if you have, to your point, if you only got to worry about one tight end, Andrews, who's the only legit passing threat he has, you can double team him, and that's the end of it.
But if we're counting Steeler wins, I'll at least a split with them. I could see them getting swept by Cincy, but they're going to sweep Cleveland, call a split with Baltimore. You're still in that 8 to 9 win range. But I could see him. It depends on what Baltimore shows up.
Yeah,
like you said, that's the biggest wild card to pick all year. 11 wins, 5 wins. You can make an argument for either one.
So, all right. So you're saying between 8 and 9 wins, floating with a wild card spot. Okay.
You got that extra wild card, which
you do now. Yeah, you have 7.
Which means that's going to get.
You have 7. Somebody's got to take it. The AFC West is going to beat the hell out of each other.
If Trubisky's playing well, he'll stay in, and they'll let him run that.
Well, this is the thing. I don't think you said this earlier about him making a couple of Pro Bowls. I don't think Trubisky's ever really had a coach until. I mean, Buffalo, he was the backup, so I don't even know what that was.
He had 2 good seasons in Chicago.
Yeah, but he didn't have a great coach.
And he didn't have a coach like Tomlin. He played Philly tough. Philly's Super Bowl run that they went in was the year that they got.
They missed the kick.
He missed the kick. Yeah, and Trubisky played well in that. So I think the kid can play. Whether again. He's never had more talent than he's ever had today with Harris behind him at running.
He's got a legit stud running back. He's got a legit stud wide out. He's got top 5-6 defense somewhere in there.
The offensive line is the question mark. That's what killed Ben last year. But this kid can run, and that's what I'm thinking. So if you're gonna risk a QB, you're gonna put him in first. If they come out of the gate 3-2, 4-1, I think you're gonna see him there for the year. If they're 500 at the 5-win mark. This is where you're going to start getting the cry for Pickens, and that's you got a couple of.
Well, if they're 500, this would imply that they lost to Cincy, lose to them, beat Cleveland, beat the Jets,
2-2, yeah,
and then there's Buffalo.
That means they could either come out of that stretch there. Let's say they lose to Cincy and then go 3-1 into Buffalo. They're 3-2 going into Tampa Bay.
They have Tampa.
Yeah, they're going to float in this 500 range, and if they're 1 or 2 games above, if they're in the mix, I think Coleman keeps trying to get to the.
Yeah, it looks to me like just not knowing what's going to happen with the other teams, but. They're probably looking at the 8 game mark. They're looking at potentially 4-4.
Yeah, 4-4.
5-3, 4-4 somewhere.
They're going to be sitting
which means they're going to be in the mix.
Which means
probably
unless Trubinsky, which again with this O line is possible. I mean, if Trubinsky gets hurt.
Let me ask you something because I didn't understand this. And there's Brian Kovacs. You need to meet Brian Kovacs. He's my neighbor. He's from Pennsylvania. Guess who his team is? And I told him about you. And I told him you were going to be on. He's going to watch this segment. And the one question I asked Brian was, and I never had to ask you this. Pittsburgh, Tomlin's an old school kind of guy. Generally speaking, yes, they've always drafted great receivers, always. But generally speaking, he understands the game's won in the trenches. So why not? And the QB had to be first. They needed a quarterback. I'm not talking about that. I get Pickens. But why are they not after that drafting the highest rated offensive lineman on the board?
Well, look at how the draft went. Look at who most of those guys got picked before they got there. I mean,
so there wasn't even one guy worth reaching for?
I thought Atlanta was going to get Pickens. They didn't take him. I mean, there was 2 teams. Carolina was up before.
Okay, but he's a receiver.
No, look at the teams that could have taken Pickens but didn't, and look at the linemen that went off. I don't know if it was a strong year for linemen. They went the free agent route. They got 2 starters off 2 teams.
Yeah, they did.
Which is better
That's
than
2. Well, they had.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing that.
They re-signed Okafor, who's one of their stud offensive linemen, to a long-term deal. So
is he a tackle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to see, and again. I can't understand the bait factor. He literally had an injury and was taking 3 steps and throwing the ball.
Well, he had no time.
Sometimes he had time. If you look, he didn't even try at the end. I mean, which I get it. I get what they were trying to do, but it became so predictable. Everybody came up in the box.
We would watch them. Because every Sunday in the SAC we have football outdoors. And
I'll give you a little fun fact. When you're watching football on TV and you can see the safety on the screen, that means that they're coming.
They don't respect them.
And every time I watched them, I'm almost 90% of the time. Maybe it's my perception there, but I saw when the Steelers were on offense, I almost saw the whole defense on TV the whole time, which said to me the safeties weren't back because they didn't care about. They were not protecting the deep ball.
No,
they were coming up for a run stop, either to stop Najee Harris or to stop the tight end, which is he's going to be good, or any of those short routes.
Okay.
Which the fact that Roethlisberger had in those receivers
because
they knew that was they were 10-yard routes, or he was running the ball.
Because the line couldn't hold up.
So if you're playing D against them, you're bringing your safeties up and you're trying to pinch. Now this is a whole ball game now because Trubinsky can move around. Chase Claypool and the rest of them are fast.
Yes,
they can take the top off of defense.
Well, these 2 guys are fast.
Yeah. So
and the kid they drafted is fast.
Both of these guys.
And the tight end to me, I remember.
So if they start doing again. If you look at the offense that he wants to run, Canada, he wants to do rollouts. He wants to do RPO. Roethlisberger can't do RPO. Wasn't going to do that. These 2 will. It's going to look different. They're going to run. They're going to roll out. They're going to do things like that Ben wasn't going to do. Not that they're going to be better thrown than Ben necessarily, but these wideouts are going to get their chance. They're going to get their chance. They're going to.
So where does that leave? Because I know he's going to get the ball, but how do they use Najee Harris here?
He was getting.
Is he in a? Are they going? I don't know if they have.
He was getting. He was up when your running back's getting 30 carries a game. You got Benny Snell behind him, which is okay, and you got Watt's little brother as a fullback. I think they're going to try to lower his carries, get him down to 20 carries a game in that range, which is where it should be.
307 carries.
Divide it up. It's too much.
That's a lot of.
Well, again, he's young. He's his second year. But after 5 years, is he going to be a viable back in the league if you run him at that pace?
And the thing is, after him.
No. Benny Snell's okay in a pinch. He can catch out of the backfield, spell him, but no.
Yeah.
I think I want him to pick up a free agent running back to give this kid a break. Because he's. But I think having this kind of an offense will, because you don't need him to run 30 times.
Well, the reason I brought this up, I don't know if you noticed this, because I found this interesting. They drafted a fullback.
Yeah, and Watt's on the roster. Watt's little brother is a fullback.
Yeah, so because to me, when you got a back like that, you have to have a set of plays out of the I formation, which implies a fullback
or a stagger.
Or a stagger. But that implies if you're drafting a fullback, that implies you're going to have some I formation going on, and put him 7 yards back and give him a head of steam, and let the fullback take the linebacker who comes, and then see who he has to run over.
I like fullback offense, but if you look at you look at like the Mike Allston,
that's my favorite one.
That's the key. Watt, I like him as a fullback, but I think Roethlisberger maybe threw to him 3 or 4 times in his career, and I don't know if he caught him. So you gotta, usually.
Yeah, I didn't see. So it was sparingly that they used him.
Well, they don't tend to be fast. So if you need to get 1 or 2 yards and you want to do the fullback kind of thing, you can. It's kind of a lost art.
No, but they usually have good hands.
Yeah.
And they're usually wide open because nobody's paying attention to them.
Well, they're going in. They usually go in and they peel off a block for an outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. They break off the block.
I think their goal line offense will be a lot stronger because of a fullback.
I would agree with that.
Because I don't understand how anybody does a goal line offense with a single back behind the line when you know they're going to run the football.
The only way you're doing that is if you have multiple tight ends.
Well, they have tight ends, but the problem is when you're keying on one back, I think it makes it easier. Unless you're dealing with the king there from Tennessee, I mean, how many people are going to get through that? Unless you have a beast, and they do not have a beast of an offensive line as of yet. We don't know that.
No. So, but they were 9-7-1. They have brought in some offensive line help, veteran offensive linemen, experienced offensive line, which to me is everything because those guys have been in the trenches before. They've got the beast of a running back behind whoever's going to be the quarterback.
If you look at that D, Levi Wallace, they were already good on defense. Lincoln, they got him.
They were good until they got hurt.
Buffalo was the number 1 D in the league.
I don't remember what game it was, but until all of a sudden it was like in one game, 2 or 3 of these guys got taken out. But they were an elite defense until that happened. Yeah. Meaning they were top 7 in the league.
They're fat in linebacker now with Miles Jack. He was okay in Jacksonville, but getting Larry Ogunjobi, he was good in Cleveland. Cleveland had a good defense. So, but Tuitt retired. That's why they did that. Tuitt was Watt's battery mate. He retired, 28 years old. He left. That's why they went out and signed this guy in Cleveland to make up for that.
That makes sense. Okay. All right, so your prediction is 8 to 9 wins and floating for the 6
8
or 7.
to 10. I think if
8
they
to 10.
if they catch could they catch Baltimore twice?
Schedules.
Yeah. Could I mean is it a gimme? Is it a gimme that Philly beats them? No. I mean those are evenly matched. Philly's good. Miami's another question mark for me. I mean new coach, a little turmoil there, a lot of pressure on the QB.
They did add the cheetah.
If Tua doesn't do well, this is Tua's year. So I mean,
well, yeah,
I mean, I would say if you look at the hardest division, it could be the East. I mean, the Jets on paper have talent; they don't have a coach, but Miami should be good.
I'll tell you what,
Buffalo could be the best in the league.
I'll tell you, well, they could be. That's the one thing that I agree with. I think Miami and New England will slug it out for 2 and 3. The Jets, we don't know. To your point, who is the coach?
They had one hell of a draft.
But the AFC West.
Oh, the West is. Chargers look really good this year. Chargers.
If that coach didn't keep going for it on 4, remember this crap? How many games did he blow?
And Russell
4 or 5 games.
Russell Wilson in Denver
he
for that.
blew doing that. And they had a league. Herbert was a top 5 quarterback numbers-wise last year, and he's young. They went out and got.
This could be a year where
they went out and got a shutdown corner. They went out and got a safety. They added to that defense. They went out and got a pass rusher. The Chargers defense is going to be better.
I think the Chargers push Kansas City for the division.
I think Kansas City's not. I don't think Kansas City's going to win the division. I think it's going to be the Chargers or the Raiders because the Chiefs. You can't. Here's the thing about Kansas City. You can't replace 4-2 speed. There are about 3 guys, 4 guys that can run. Kelsey's not going to be as open. He's not as good. He's not as open. He's still a Pro Bowl. You have to respect him. But he's getting older. He's not. He's still. He's not the guy that he was. And now the guy that took the pressure off him is gone. They did get Juju Smith, who's solid. He's not terrible.
He's a slot receiver.
He's solid,
and he's tall. You're not going to mistake him for a Wes Walker. He's not speedy.
No,
when he is good, he's sure-handed, and he
has good hands.
He'll go over the middle and take.
He'll go over the middle. Yeah. So that he'll take some of that blow. But at the end of the day, you lost a guy that changes. I'll give
you an example. Juju catches the ball, he's going to get tackled. When the Cheetah gets the ball,
he's waving by.
Yeah, he's right.
He's waving. He's waving
losing that
people.
explosiveness.
And the Cheetah, Tom is my brother. Tom, I know you're out there. They're keeping the seat warm. These are guest hosts. Don't get mad. He's not mad. He knew you guys were coming on. But anyway, Tom brought up an interesting point about how the Cheetah's skill set was perfect for the type of quarterback that Patrick Mahomes was. Because when the play broke down, the Cheetah could break off his right. These two had a connection that was undeniable.
Yeah.
And when you lose that, you don't just replace that. This is why I think Brady's going to struggle without Gronk, because you don't just replace.
Well, this is the age-old adage. If you build a team around just a quarterback, you become more like a Green Bay. Good enough to get you to the playoffs, not good enough to do much anything else, because you sacrifice too much on the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
So,
and Brady was smart enough never to be the highest-paid player in the game because he understood he needed help.
Brady left because he didn't have enough talent around him.
Yeah, Belichick wouldn't go get him.
So he went, and he knew enough about himself, saying he didn't look in the mirror and say, "I'm the greatest of all time." He went and said, "If I want to win more Super Bowls, I have to go." I have to go to a talented team.
We're not getting to the Patriots here, but the bottom line is they should have drafted DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
They drafted N'Keal Harry.
But if you look at somebody like Pitt, like you're asking me, forget the quarterback.
No.
From defense and Super Bowl caliber.
Yep.
The wideouts and the tight ends and the running back are great. You got 2 question marks: the QB and the line, which are big question marks. But the
line's big.
They're 85% of the way there. If the line checks out, the
line to me is everything.
Well, that's why these 2 veteran signings.
If they can run the ball,
they did last year with no offensive.
No, I'm saying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are a top 10 rushing, they could be 9. If they're in the top 10 rushing, they're a playoff team. And when I say they're a playoff team, not only are they a playoff team, but they're a threat. Because they can run and they can defend. And those things travel in the playoffs.
You look at what they did last year.
You can run and you can defend, and the quarterback doesn't screw it up. They've been in the playoffs the last 2 years with a quarterback on his way out and a bad offensive line. And that's probably the reason the quarterback was on the way out, because he got the shit beat out of him.
And the only thing they did was run the ball and play defense. That's all they do.
Mm-hmm. So the line, all right, so the key to this season really is the guys, which is usually what it is anyway. So for Pittsburgh, the kid from Detroit and the kid from Arizona, right?
Yep.
Center?
Mason Cole, center Arizona, which that could hurt Arizona.
Right, so for you Steelers fans out there who say I don't talk about the Steelers, okay. And honestly, I agree with all of that. I do. I have no. My question was the offensive line, and I think that's his question too. So we're on the same page there. But what I did not know is who they went out and got, and the 2 guys they did go and get. That sounds like a solid upgrade. At least definitely in 2 spots.
No, Detroit wasn't inspiring me to do anything when I watched them.
Not everybody in Detroit stinks. Look at Matthew Stafford. Okay, and again, maybe this guy isn't the master's average of lineman, but doesn't mean he wasn't a good lineman. Yeah. It's hard to tell.
Jeff Daniels, guard out of there, so they need it. Everybody,
Yeah.
this is all patchwork, but they got a starting center, they got a starting guard. And I don't think they were good last year.
If you replace two guys that weren't good with two frontline starters, that's usually an upgrade. Usually, I don't know how good these two guys are. Well, actually, the guy from Arizona have a good eye on it because they could run the football. So if he was the starting center, then I know he can play. I know he can play. I don't know about the kid from Detroit yet. We'll see. But that looks like could be a solid move. All right. So right now, if they're there, you have them finishing second, probably in the division.
Yeah, between 8 and 10 wins. I'm never going to believe. Obviously, Cleveland's a dumpster fire right now.
Oh yeah, because of the quarterback.
That's not going to happen. I think Baltimore. Everyone wants to. I don't know that even if they didn't get injured with their schedule, they'll if you look at the last.
I think they'd have won a couple more games. What that would have meant? In the postseason?
Baltimore. They could be. You could say 11. I could say okay. You could say 7 wins, 6 or 5. I could say yeah too. You just don't know, and the QB situation's up in the air.
The only thing I will say,
what are you gonna do?
And again, I'm not saying you're wrong. The only thing I know is that he's never had a number one.
Well, if you look at what they're going in, I mean, they do. They're a good team on paper, but I don't know. But I don't know how good they are on paper. I know their defense when it's healthy is good, and I know what he is. Yeah. But the problem is that it's hard to evaluate a quarterback when he's devoid of weapons. Tom Brady got a load of shit from this New England, and he threw for 4,000 yards, and he had 3-1, and he had nobody but an injured, aging Julian Edelman. That's all he had, and he lost his running game. His running game went from 5 to 16. None of that was his fault. The center got knocked out for the year. Gronk retired. The fullback was out for the year. Pro Bowl fullback. Okay, they lost 4 Pro Bowl caliber blocking people before the season started. That was Brady's fault. So he didn't have a running game, and he didn't have another weapon besides Edelman. Okay, and they won 12 games because they had an elite defense, and he was smart. Let's back up here. No one's going to mistake Lamar Jackson's throwing accuracy
for Tom Brady. No, he's not.
So that's an apples to orange there.
He's never. I don't think he's ever had a receiver as good as Julian Edelman.
Well, like I said when we started this, if you're thinking about what scares you about their offense,
it's him.
It's him, and that's it. I mean, are you going to double cover these guys?
I mean, I would love to see.
They do have a decent tight end.
Andrews is legit. He's legit, but he's the only one.
But can you win it? Can you win?
No.
Can you go to the Super Bowl?
His name isn't Rob Gronkowski.
No, I mean,
if his name ain't Rob Gronkowski, no. The answer is no.
And I think I think they're burning the kid out. They are burning him out. If you look at most of the plays, it looks like a college football offense because they're just running him, and that means linebackers are teeing on him.
Yeah, he's one hit away.
When you play against Pitt, they're going to be
He's one hit away in a defense that likes to hit, in a division that likes to hit. Because Cleveland's defense is legit, Pittsburgh's defense is legit, and Cincinnati's defense is legit. I don't think there's a bad defense in that entire division. I really don't. Pittsburgh might have the best one in that division, but they're all good. Every damn one of them is good. So he has no cupcakes in the division.
So my wild card games are that Philly game, the second Baltimore game, because I think they're going to at least split.
They always do.
Indianapolis, they'll have a good chance there. They're at Indianapolis. The Raiders are going to be good, but Carolina, they're not ready yet.
I'll tell you right now, they got to beat New England.
Yeah, well, that's out of the gate.
To your point,
that's early. That's going to be
that
early.
Second tier.
If you take New England, Pitt, all those teams, they're all going to be in that 9-10 win range. They're all going to be fighting for that last playoff spot.
So
and the AFC West is probably going to send at least 2 teams to the playoffs, maybe 3.
They might send 3. So that division's ridiculous. So, all right, you heard it here first. First still prediction from a guy who's got a replica of the stadium in his bear, he did, and more retired Steelers jerseys than I can shake a stick at. He is the definition of diehard. This is my older brother. I love him. I'm glad he came on. Most people didn't know you existed, by the way. This is great. Now I can. You were George Glass. So anyway, that is Mark. I am RJ. We're going to take a break. We're coming back on our third segment later on. Sean Darcy, who's a diehard. It's diehard day here on the Cape. We had a diehard Cowboys fan, diehard Steelers fan, diehard Patriots fan to close the show. How many Super Bowls is that? That's 17 Super Bowls, ladies and gentlemen. And these people had a front row seat for all of them. So that's what you want in terms of, these guys know their teams. They know them like you know your team. So you guys, it's Saturday. Get some dinner in you. Get a nice frosty, delicious beverage or that dessert that your wife, maybe the wife's not looking, hopefully she's not. And we'll be back in a little while for our little Patriots, the first of 2 Patriots previews, because Sean's going to have his, and then later on after I see the preseason, then I'm going to have mine. So you might want to listen to Sean. It's probably a little more optimistic. But I want to thank my brother Mark. It was fun.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on. And as I told Pete, when the Celtics come back, he also is a Celtics diehard. And we might, if I can talk him into it, we might do a little Bruins preview. Bruins this season. Yep. If they resign Pasta, we'll see what they do. At least they brought Bergeron back. They still got to fire the owner. Anyway, that is Mark. Thank you again, brother. We will do this again. And you guys get a break. We'll be back in a little bit.